Right now on News 3, hear from a quick-thinking local man after he helped save a woman from an attack in broad daylight. Hurricane Michael carving a path now through the southeast, an update on its path and a look at some of the damage left behind. And later, a News 3 investigation following this weekend's deadly limo crash in New York. A look at the laws and regulations here in Wisconsin.
This is News 3 at 10.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Two building managers are being called heroes after rescuing a woman from a sexual assault that happened in broad daylight. The suspect, 32-year-old Kevin Kieran, was arrested on charges of fourth-degree sexual assault, lewd behavior, and disorderly conduct. Our Jamie Perez spoke to one of those building managers this afternoon and shares what happened. Jamie?
So after speaking with the manager, his name is Billy. He says he thinks being recognized as a hero is, in his words, unnecessary. But after you hear what happened, you might just understand why Madison PD is recognizing his actions with an award nomination.
It starts to look a little bit odd.
MPD is calling him a hero.
It's completely unnecessary, but my dad and mom will be proud.
After saving a woman from a sexual assault in broad daylight yesterday, he still can't believe it.
Did that really just happen?
Billy and a partner were on a lift doing some work on an apartment in this building on East Johnson Street when he looked across the street and saw a man run up to a woman and grope her. He ran away, came back, and grabbed her again with his pants down.
It was all very hectic and very fast.
Billy jumped to her rescue.
The base got to about here and I jumped.
He screamed profanities loud enough to cause a scene, hoping to stop this man.
And he kept going.
Billy's partner yelled for the woman to run across the street to safety. Billy tried to keep him at bay while police were on the way.
And an officer drives right down the street. I jump out in front. I point at him and I point at the other guy and he pulls right on over and that was it. The guy's pants fall down in the middle of the street, and the officer took care of it.
The woman is said to be okay.
I felt sorrow. I mean, I was really sad. Watching that happen. It was so disturbing.
But Billy is still in shock at everything. This happened on a busy street, broad daylight, middle of the day with people around.
That's why it was bizarre. That's why it almost, you didn't think it was happening because your brain's going, that doesn't happen.
But it did. And it was
scary.
But it put things into perspective in a way Billy would have never been able to experience otherwise.
I would never think about that, but if somebody did that to me as a man and I couldn't do anything about it, I would feel so violated.
A brave and heroic act that earned him a humble recognition from police. Billy says he's no hero, but for him, it was second nature.
It's something I would do again and again and again.
And again and again. Billy said he was not able to finish the work on the apartment for the rest of that day, but was glad he was at the right place at the right time to be able to help this woman. And we are working to learn more about this award that he is nominated for.
All right, Jamie Perez with that story at our news center. All right, Jamie, thank you. 14 people are expected to be okay tonight. They were taken to the hospital after being exposed to a carbon monoxide leak inside Dawn's Food in Portage. A leaking water heater believed to be the culprit here. When crews arrived, they found carbon monoxide levels at 800 parts per million. Now, for reference, acceptable levels are about 4 to 7 parts per million. 2 of the 14 patients sent to the hospital have been released. 12 are stable and under observation. Governor Scott Walker made an executive order today readying Wisconsin National Guard troops to help with Hurricane Michael cleanup efforts. That storm, which is still at this hour a Category 1, is drenching parts of Georgia and eastern Alabama. It has already claimed at least one life after making landfall along the Florida Panhandle as a Category 4 hurricane. Michael's maximum sustained wind speeds reached 155 miles an hour. That's just 2 miles per hour shy of becoming a Category 5 hurricane.
Hurricane Michael is the worst storm that the Florida Panhandle has ever seen.
It was also the third most powerful hurricane ever to hit the U.S. mainland after Camille and Andrew. President Trump, who was at a campaign-style rally in Pennsylvania tonight, says he may visit the area either Sunday or Monday. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalta to get a closer look at where Michael is now. Gary?
Eric, it is continuing to spin across the southern portion of Georgia. It is still a very powerful storm. This is 12 hours ago, right before Michael made landfall just to the east of Panama City, Florida. You can see how the circulation clearly moves through the southern portion of Georgia. The maximum sustained winds now just at hurricane force, 75 miles per hour. Gusts are up to about 90 miles per hour, moving pretty rapidly now to the northeast at 20 miles per hour. As we take a look at the forecast from the National Hurricane Center, it will weaken into a tropical storm, push through the Carolinas and then eventually out into the Atlantic Ocean, and then rapidly move across the Atlantic Ocean to be just east of Europe by early on Sunday morning. Now, as we take a look at an alert day that we have here, we have the possibility for widespread frost and maybe a hard freeze by Friday morning. So as Michael moves out to sea, that will allow the weather system that's kept us mild the last couple of days to move eastward and allow colder air to move in from the north and west. High temperatures were earlier today here in Madison. We topped out at 72. Most locations were in the upper 60s to the lower 70s. Look where temperatures have fallen to now. We're at 50 in Madison. Temperatures to our west are already in the 40s. Those winds continue out of the west and southwest at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. By tomorrow morning, temperatures will be down to around 40 degrees. We'll see clouds in the morning, then partly sunny skies in the afternoon, but it will be a chilly day. The high temperature only topping out at 46 degrees. That's your first alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. A home explosion in the village of Harrison forced evacuations and injured 2 people this morning. This is in Calumet County, about 15 miles southeast of Appleton. The explosion was heard and felt miles away. Debris was found in trees, on rooftops, and scattered about neighborhood yards. 4 homes nearby that explosion site are no longer in livable condition due to structural concerns. An investigation is underway to determine exactly what happened. Police say 2 cars were hit by gunfire this afternoon in Madison, including a taxi, after the passenger of another vehicle opened fire. This happened just before 1 at the intersection of East Washington, Fair Oaks Avenue. According to police, the passenger who opened fire was riding in a white Mercedes with Illinois plates. There were no reports of any injuries. Police say it didn't appear the 2 vehicles that were hit were intended targets. 9 shell casings were found at the scene. Nearby Hawthorne Elementary School was also briefly locked down as police responded. In an email to parents at about 1:30 p.m., Principal Beth Lehman said police told the school there was no threat to the school, but it was locked down anyway until about 2:15 this afternoon. Lawyers for suspended Badger wide receiver Quintez Cephas have filed suit against the university for violating his constitutional rights. Cephas is charged with sexual assault after an alleged incident involving 2 intoxicated women at his apartment in April. In the Title IX investigation that the UW conducted after the incident, his attorneys say his rights were violated. The UW tonight says it is standard practice to handle misconduct allegations independent of criminal justice process in accordance with federal law. Newly released police video shows the arrest of the Iowa County District Attorney. Larry Nelson was arrested earlier this month for drunk driving near Mineral Point. Deputies responded after Nelson accidentally pushed the OnStar alert button in his vehicle. The Grant County Sheriff's Department took over from there due to potential conflict of interest. Nelson says he is personally and professionally ashamed of his actions and will be fully accepting of the penalties. The limo service operator involved in the horrific crash that killed 20 people last weekend has been arrested and charged today. Police say 28-year-old Prestige limousine operator Nauman Hussein was arrested this morning during a traffic stop. Authorities say his father owns the company. Hussein is being charged with criminal negligent homicide. Investigators say the driver wasn't properly licensed to operate that limousine. The vehicle had been ordered to be taken out of service back in September. Wisconsin State Patrol is taking steps to make sure that doesn't happen here, but a lack of state regulation may stand in the way. Amy Reed joins us now with this News 3 investigation. Amy?
Wisconsin is no stranger to this discussion. You might remember a limo on its way to Chicago crashed in 2016, killing a woman from Monona. Tonight, we wanted to learn whether Wisconsin's laws or regulations have changed and what you should know to stay safe.
You can see the steering column. This is the master cylinder and the brake fluid. We're going to make sure we have good brake fluid level.
At this point, Teresa Burchard is a pro.
Turn your key in the on position and rock your steering.
Checking limousines to make sure they're safe enough to drive you around. This inspection was just for us.
And release.
So we knew what she was looking for, like lights, brakes, and emergency exits. But Burchard does these inspections on limousines and buses across the state.
I've seen drivers that were not qualified being contacted and actually placed out of service.
It can happen even on nights where limos or buses are carrying passengers. We've seen it before. In 2016, we watched as half of Surprise inspected limos were put out of service at Lambeau Field on game day. We've been following this story since a deadly limo crash in Illinois that killed Terry Schmidt of Monona and injured her friends. But since then, we've learned the state has only loosened insurance requirements for limo companies. Lawmakers passing just last year a bill to reduce insurance from $5 million for buses carrying more than 16 passengers down to $1 million. Smaller limos only need $500,000 in insurance. Most other regulations haven't changed. Only drivers for large limos or buses need need a CDL. Companies need authority to drive in the state or across state lines, and only vehicles carrying more than 16 people are required by law to be inspected.
Here's a pre-trip inspection report. It goes over the exterior, engine.
Rob Tatro takes it a step further. He requires inspections on all his presidential limos before they go out every single time.
They're in one of your vehicles. They want to be safe out there.
He said companies need to be able to tell you when a vehicle was last inspected and whether the business has proper authorities and insurance. He also said to check for a DOT number and name listed on the side of the vehicles. But ultimately, your safety may be dependent on a reputable company and your own homework. Before you book with a company, Burchard said to call this number, 608-267-9762. That's the State Patrol's information line. They can check records specific to that company to help make sure that they are legit. But she said a good way to tell right off the bat is price. If the cost is well below what other people are offering, the difference is likely coming from skirting regulations.
Well, some great advice there. Amy Reed reporting with us in studio. Amy, thank you. Still ahead tonight at 10, a dramatic cool down ahead for the weekend. Gary will have his full forecast. But first, a tightening race for governor. The latest poll numbers straight ahead. New numbers tonight about how the top of the ticket races are shaping up in Wisconsin. That includes the races for governor and U.S. Senate. In the race for governor, Governor Walker has taken a lead that is within the margin of error. According to Marquette Law School's October poll, it shows him with a lead 47-46 over State Superintendent of Schools Tony Evers. 5% supporting Libertarian Phil Anderson. Evers had a 5-point lead over the governor in this September poll. In the race for U.S. Senate, Tammy Baldwin continues to hold a double-digit lead over State Senator Leah Vukmir, 53-43%. 4% say they don't know who they'll vote for. That is well outside the 3% margin of error. Vice President Mike Pence on his way out of Wisconsin tonight after attending a pair of fundraisers for Governor Walker and Senator Vukmir. He landed in Green Bay this morning and then headed to Eau Claire this evening. During his stop in Green Bay, he called Scott Walker one of the best governors in the United States.
Scott Walker has been delivering a Wisconsin comeback and moving Wisconsin forward every single day that he's been governor, and the results speak for themselves.
Governor Walker's challenger, Tony Evers, was in Wausau today promoting his prescription drug plan. Speaking at the Marathon County Democratic Party office, Evers discussed his plans to lower drug costs in the state.
We need to be proactive around it. People in Wisconsin need protection from the gouging that the big pharmacy companies do.
As far as the latest polls today, Evers says it shows why he and his running mate Mandela Barnes have been crisscrossing the state to get out their message and solutions to the state's problems. Henry Vilas Zoo's newest polar bear starting to explore his home in the Arctic Passage exhibit. This is 2-year-old Nunique, enjoying the zoo family in September, but is just now starting a rotation with Barrett, the female polar bear at the zoo, to become acclimated with the environment there. He is the son of Nanook, a polar bear who lived at the Vilas Zoo for 2 decades. And they got him out just in time, Gary, because I think he's going to like the weather a little better tomorrow than he did the last couple of days.
I think so. Temperatures are going to be much more fall-like, and will, at least the good news is that the rain should be gone, or at least mostly gone for the next week to 10 days. We have an alert day in the forecast now for Friday morning. This not for severe weather, but for a widespread frost. We're looking for a low temperature in Madison, right around 30 degrees, but outside of Madison, temperatures will probably be in the upper 20s, and that could lead to a hard freeze in the probable end of the growing season in most areas. Time-lapse from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville started out with showers this morning. We saw intermittent showers through the day there, but then as that last batch of showers came through in the afternoon, notice a little bit of clearing, and then the clouds kind of rolled back in closer to sunset. And we'll start out tomorrow cloudy, but then start to see some clearing later on in the day. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison, looking toward the north end of the UW campus. High today 72, low temperature is 50. That's where we are now, and temperatures will probably drop a few more degrees before midnight. Winds out of the west at 9 miles per hour. Dew point temperature was in the mid to upper 60s yesterday, now in the lower 40s, and as that drops, that will allow temperatures to get much colder at night. Notice the barometric pressure, 29.67, very low as low pressure moves to the northern portion of Wisconsin, but rising rapidly as that storm starts to pull away from us. High temperatures yesterday, well, you can see 40s in the northern part of the state. We were in the low to mid 80s through southern Wisconsin. And take a look at the high temperatures today. Still made the low 70s before the front came through. Those 40s still in northwestern Wisconsin, but our change happened today. And you can see current temperatures now still in the mid 50s to around 60 in eastern Wisconsin, 40s out to the west, and then just on the other side of the state line, temperatures mainly in the 30s across much of Minnesota and Iowa. Compared to just 24 hours ago, our temperatures running about 20 degrees colder. And as we check out Weather Track, you can see a strong jet stream aloft spinning up that storm in northern Wisconsin. On the backside of the storm, colder air causing snow to fall through the Dakotas and into parts of northwestern Minnesota. This jet stream is roaring across the country. That's taking Michael and will zip it out in the Atlantic Ocean. So from a rainfall standpoint, this will not produce the heavy amounts of rain that Florence and some of the hurricanes last year did, but the winds obviously were much stronger than some of those other storms. There's the low pressure system. Cold front is now swept off to the east of it, and you can see to the north and west still winter weather advisories for parts of North Dakota and northern Minnesota for the snow. Current temperatures below freezing there. We're still at 50, but the colder air definitely moving in from the west. And you can see on Future Track, the clouds lingering overnight, and then tomorrow they start to break up in the afternoon. That will allow some sunshine to come through, but with partly cloudy skies tomorrow night, that means we'll see very cold conditions. And then on Friday, weather system will pass to our south, bringing us a few more clouds, but we'll probably miss out on the precipitation. So for tonight, look for a low of 40 degrees, breezy and cooler. Tomorrow's high temperature only going up a few degrees to 46. Morning clouds will give way to afternoon sunshine. So you can see those temperatures dropping off overnight down to about 40 by tomorrow morning. Some sunshine in the afternoon, highs mid-40s. Tomorrow night with partly cloudy skies, those temperatures dropping to around 30 degrees, but you can see 20s in some areas outside of Madison, and then highs only in the middle 40s on Friday. As we look at the 7 to 10 day forecast, temperatures staying below normal through the weekend and through at least the first half of next week. The good news is, though, just a chance of showers on Sunday and a chance of showers on Tuesday. Otherwise, a mainly dry forecast. We need, so after going through these rainy periods, we need like a week to 10 days to dry out, just like we have so many times this summer. So at least we'll have that coming up.
All right, Gary, thank you. Sure. The Brewers are hoping this somewhat long break won't hurt their momentum in the NLCS. It starts Friday. We'll have the story coming up in sports.
The Brewers still have to wait a few more days to begin the National League Championship Series. Game 1 against the Los Angeles Dodgers is Friday night at Miller Park. They've now set the start times for the NLCS between the Brewers and Dodgers. The first 2 games at Miller Park are Friday night and Saturday afternoon. They'll go to 3 games in Los Angeles after that, and then, if needed, return to Milwaukee for games 6 and 7, both night games at Miller Park Friday and Saturday, October 19th and 20th. The Brewers are trying to stay sharp after clinching the NLDS Sunday in Colorado. The Dodgers won the season series with the Brewers 4-3, but the Brewers have won their last 11 games overall, and they hope to keep using the same formula heading into the NLCS Friday night.
That's what the postseason's about, is someone contributing 1 through 9, 1 through 12. And our bullpen, our pitching staff has done an extremely incredible job.
The crowd, the 2 games here were unbelievable, so we're expecting even more this series. I know you can feel the energy in the town already, and everybody's excited. It's the first time back in the LCS in however many years it's been.
With a Monday night football game coming up against the San Francisco 49ers, the Packers' schedule is 1 day off this week. Today is the off day. Tomorrow they go back to practice. One guy who may need some practice this week is kicker Mason Crosby, who missed 4 field goals and an extra point attempt in that loss in Detroit last Sunday. Crosby has been a dependable kicker for a long time, so you think it's maybe just a hiccup. Certainly Mike McCarthy isn't going to overreact.
I think if Mason was standing here, he just would lock it down. He's got to focus on what he can control, and he's got to make those kicks. But for me to get into the kinesiology and the weight distribution, all that, I'm not going to get into that. So he's a proven, highly successful kicker. I still believe in him. So, but he knows it. He has to make those kicks.
The Badger football team heads to Ann Arbor for a top 15 matchup against the Michigan Wolverines Saturday night at 6:30. Wisconsin has won 10 straight road games, but the last road game they lost was in Harbaughville in October of 2016. They'll have their usual crowd of over 107,000 fans Saturday night in the place they call the Big House. So it is intimidating for a visiting team to play there? Well, the Badgers say it can be, but that's okay.
It's you feel how big the stadium is, you feel how many people are there for sure, but, I think we've played in hostile environments before, and if you ask me, it's more fun than anything.
It's huge, and there's a bunch of people, and you're playing a good team, but, not intimidating to the point to where it paralyzes you or anything like that. If anything, that's what makes it fun.
It's the final week for the Prep Mania High School Football Game of the Week. We'll have the battle for the conference championship in the Capital North as undefeated Lakeside Lutheran faces one-loss Lodi in Waunakee. We'll be live with the game on TVW and Channel3000.com, 7 o'clock Friday night. And one of NASCAR's most successful combinations is splitting up. Crew Chief Chad Knaus will be leaving Jimmy Johnson's 48 team next season. Knaus and Johnson started working together at 2002. At one point, they won 5 straight Cup championships, but they have struggled the last few seasons. Kevin Mindering will take over as crew chief of the 48, and we'll be right back.
Well, it'll be very different tomorrow morning for kids at the bus stop than it was this morning.
It's already different out there right now if you've been outside. I mean, I came to work without a jacket, but now we're down to 50 here in Madison. Temperatures in the 40s out to the west of us. By tomorrow, look for a high in the mid-40s. An alert day for Friday morning for low temperatures around 30 and the possibility for a widespread frost and freeze, and cool temperatures through much of next week, too.
Gary, thank you. Thanks for joining us for News 3 at 10. Have a great night.